Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep today, really deep, into Project Blue Book. You know that U.S. Air Force thing? They studied UFOs, like seriously studied them.
Oh, yeah, Blue Book.
Over 12,000 reports they looked at, from 52 to 69. That's a long time to be chasing,
Chasing the unknown, that's for sure. And you gotta wonder, after all that, did they actually find anything?
that's what we're here to figure out. We've got intriguing cases, official conclusions, the whole 9 yards, and probably some arguments along the way.
Oh, definitely arguments. Can't talk about UFOs without those. But let's set the stage first. Post-World War II America, imagine it, everyone's a bit on edge, the world's changed, and then boom, UFO sightings everywhere.
Flying saucers, they called them back then, right? Like that Kenneth Arnold sighting started the whole craze.
Exactly. Arnold sighting, the 47 wave, it all put UFOs on the map. And the government, well, they couldn't just ignore it.
So they started Project Sign in 47. First official UFO investigation. Did they try to debunk everything right away?
You'd think so, but their first conclusion was actually the opposite. They said, get this, UFOs are real and maybe extraterrestrial.
Hold on, they actually said that. Extraterrestrial.
It's in the estimate of the situation report. Wild, isn't it? Almost like they were about to admit something huge, but then they backtracked. Not enough proof, they said.
So much for that, huh? What happened to Project Sign after that?
He's mantled, replaced by Project Grudge in 49. Now that one, they were all about debunking.
They couldn't explain everything, could they?
Nope. Left a good chunk unexplained. Something like 23%. Didn't make anyone happy, especially those looking for answers.
Yeah, you can't just say we don't know to that much and expect people to be satisfied, so things kind of stalled out.
You could say that. Public was restless, some in the government too. They knew they had to do something more. Something. Well, more convincing.
And that's where Project Blue Book comes in, 1952. The promise of a serious, structured investigation. And this is where we meet Captain Edward J. Ruppelt.
The guy who gave us the term UFO, unidentified flying object, it all started with him.
Ruppelt, huh?
Yeah.
Sounds like he was serious about this stuff.
He was. Tried to bring real science to the whole thing, made reporting easier, less, embarrassing for witnesses, even brought in questionnaires and, get this, statistical analysis.
Statistical analysis.
So UFOs.
Had the Battelle Memorial Institute crunching numbers, the whole shebang. Ruppelt wanted this to be legit, no doubt.
So what were they dealing with? Like, what kind of cases during Ruppelt's time?
Oh, some real head-scratchers. Lubbock lights, for one.
Yeah.
Texas, bunch of witnesses, photos even, weird lights in the sky.
Sounds spooky. Anything else?
1952, Washington, D.C., UFOs spotted over the Capitol, picked up on radar, caused a huge uproar, understandably.
Wow, right over D.C. That's going to make people pay attention. Did the government change their tune after that?
It did lead to something. The Robertson panel in 53, CIA got a bunch of scientists together, said, okay, figure this out.
And what they say? Aliens.
Nah, not quite. Mostly explainable, they said. No need for more investigation. So, back to square one. Everyone just went home.
Not exactly. And this is where things get a little, shady.
Shady. How so?
The Robertson panel, they recommended, get this, a debunking campaign to calm the public down. Even suggested using, celebrities in the media to downplay sightings.
Oh, hold on. So they're not just ignoring it, they're actively trying to make people think it's nothing.
Pretty much. And to make things even more hush-hush, they made it a crime for military folks to talk about classified UFO reports.
Wow. So much for transparency, right? What happened to Project Blue Book after all that went down?
It kept going, but it wasn't the same, especially after a Ruppelt left. Shifted from investigating to explaining away, almost obsessively.
How do you even do that? Just pretend stuff isn't there?
They got good at reclassifying things. Possible comet became probable comet, which then magically turned into misidentified comet. Made the stats look good, even if it wasn't the truth.
Yeah, I can see how people would start losing faith. Did anyone try to, fight back against this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there were a few. Major friend. He took over in 58, tried to get things back on track, but...
But what happened?
Not enough resources, not enough support. Higher-ups just weren't interested in letting Blue Book actually do its job. Yeah, things got worse in the 60s. People were fed up.
Fed up, like they didn't believe Blue Book anymore.
Exactly. Public criticism was through the roof. And ICAP, this group, the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, they were gaining steam. Even some scientists were speaking out. Blue Book's credibility was, well, it was tanking.
So they weren't just quietly grumbling anymore. They were actually calling Blue Book out. Were there specific cases that really fueled this fire?
Oh, yeah. A whole bunch, actually, but two really stand out. The 65 Midwest Southeast sightings, that was a big one. And then the Portage County chase in 66, that one's almost legendary.
Okay, so let's unpack those, starting with the 65 sightings. What happened there?
People were seeing stuff all over the place. Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, all across the Midwest and Southeast. Lights, shapes, the whole shebang. And not just some random folks, the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, they even reported it, said Tinker Air Force Base was tracking multiple UFOs on radar.
On radar, that's pretty hard to dismiss. What were they seeing?
Multicolored lights, some said. Others talked about large, egg-shaped objects. And get this, the radar tracks at Tinker showed some of these things descending super fast, like
Yeah.
way faster than any plane could.
That's pretty wild. Okay, so what did Blue Book do with this? How did they explain it away?
Stars and planets, they said. That people were mistaking Jupiter and some bright stars like Rigel and Betelgeuse for UFOs.
Stars and planets. Seriously,
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Even I know those stars weren't visible at that time of year. Anyone called them out on that?
Oh, yeah. Astronomers were all over them. Robert Reiser, this guy who ran a planetarium in Oklahoma, he just tore into them, said they had their star charts upside down, basically called them incompetent.
Oof, that's got to sting. So, not their finest moment. What about the Portage County chase? That one sounds straight out of a movie.
Oh, it was a wild one. 1966, two police officers in Ohio, Dale Spar and Wilbur Neff, they see this silvery disc, bright light underneath. So they do what any cop would do. They chase it.
They chased a UFO in a squad car.
Yep. And it went on for like 85 miles. Across state lines, other police departments even got involved. Imagine that, a multi-state UFO chase.
Okay, so did they catch it, this flying saucer? What happened?
It vanished, just disappeared. But the best part, Blue Book's explanation. Hold on to your hat.
Okay, I'm ready. Hit me.
They said the cops were first chasing get this, a communications satellite. And then after that, they were chasing the planet Venus.
A satellite, then Venus? Come on, are they serious?
That's what they said. Like these two experienced police officers, one of them a former Air Force gunner, couldn't tell the difference.
Between a satellite, a planet, and an actual UFO. Yeah, right.
Even J. Allen Hynek, he was still Blue Book's science guy at the time. Even he thought it was ridiculous. Said the officers' reports clearly described the moon, Venus, and the UFO all as separate things. But Blue Book, they just twisted their words to fit their narrative.
They were really grasping at straws at that point, weren't they?
It was getting pretty bad. This whole explain everything away approach, it was doing more harm than good. Eroding public trust, making Blue Book look incompetent.
You can't just keep doing that and expect people to take you seriously. What about Hynek? He was a skeptic at first, right? Did these cases change his mind?
Oh, absolutely. He saw firsthand how Blue Book was messing up. The bad science, the ignoring of evidence, the whole thing, it frustrated him. He wanted a real investigation, a scientific one.
So he didn't just sit back and watch it all fall apart. Did he try to change things from the inside?
He did. In '68, he wrote this letter to the Air Force, laid out all his concerns, didn't hold back at all.
What did he say? Give us the highlights.
He basically said Blue Book was a mess. Understaffed, unscientific, ignoring important cases, called out their shoddy methods, said they weren't using him, their own science consultant, properly. It was a pretty scathing critique.
Wow. Talk about speaking truth to power. Did the Air Force listen?
Nope. Nothing changed. They just kept on trucking, dismissing reports, explaining everything away. It was like they weren't even trying anymore.
So what finally ended Project Blue Book? Was there like a final straw?
You could say that. All the criticism, it was just too much, even for the Air Force. So in '66, they decided to bring in the big guns. They formed the Condon Committee.
The Condon Committee. Who were they?
A group of scientists, supposed to be neutral, objective. Their job was to investigate UFOs once and for all, settle the whole debate.
Did they succeed? Did they figure it all out?
Well, that's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah.
The Condon Committee, it was controversial from the start, and their final report, well, let's just say it didn't exactly provide the clear-cut answers everyone was hoping for.
So what did they conclude? Aliens. No aliens.
They said there was nothing extraordinary about UFOs, that it wasn't worth studying them anymore.
So that was it for Project Blue Book. Case closed. End of story.
Officially, yeah. The Air Force used the Condon Report to shut down Blue Book in '69. But of course, with UFOs, things are never that simple. There's always another twist, another mystery waiting around the corner.
It's wild, right? They start off all gung-ho, let's figure out these UFOs, and then it's like, They just gave up.
Yeah, it's almost like they got too close to something or maybe got spooked and decided, nope, let's just sweep this under the rug.
Control the narrative instead of finding the truth.
Exactly. And the thing is, we might never know the real reason behind that shift. What made them go from genuine curiosity to, wow, basically a cover-up?
Yeah, what were they so afraid of? Was it the truth itself?
Yeah.
Or maybe the public reaction to that truth?
Who knows? But all those inconsistencies, the way they downplayed evidence, the lack of transparency, it definitely makes you wonder. Makes you think there's more to this story than they let on.
And then there's that whole thing with the Battelle Memorial Institute, right? They were brought in to debunk UFOs, and their own data ended up suggesting the opposite.
I know, right? Talk about ironic. Their analysis showed clear differences between unknown sightings and the ones they could explain. It's like their own research was undermining Blue Book's official stance.
So what do you think? Was it all just incompetence? Or was there something more deliberate going on? Were they hiding something?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's hard to say for sure, but I think it's safe to say that Project Blue Book left us with more questions than answers.
Definitely a lot to ponder. So after all this, after diving deep into Blue Book, what's the main takeaway? What do you want our listeners to remember?
I think the biggest lesson here is that the search for truth, especially when it comes to UFOs, is rarely straightforward. There are always going to be conflicting accounts, hidden agendas, and a whole lot of mystery. And sometimes, even after years of investigation, the truth remains elusive.
It's a good reminder that we don't have all the answers, and that's okay. The unknown is still out there, waiting to be explored.
Exactly. And for anyone who wants to explore Blue Book further, the declassified files are all available online thanks to the Freedom of Information Act. Go check them out, read the reports, look at the data. You might even find something that Blue Book missed.
That's right, the investigation doesn't have to end here. Maybe one of our listeners will be the one to uncover the truth that's been hidden for all these years. Until then, keep looking up, keep asking questions, and never stop exploring the mysteries of the universe. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Project Blue Book.